Everybody, and welcome to today's session of quality collaboration across the supply chain. And it's my pleasure to introduce the iFoods, Karen Long, and the whole iFoods team. They're not only good partners, but good friends as well. Karen Long is a VP of Sales at iFoodsDS, focused on enterprise customers looking for digital solutions that support their quality, traceability, and food safety initiatives. She has a unique entrepreneurial approach fostered by an ability to combine creativity and critical thinking. With an extensive background in SaaS, software as a service, sales, and implementations, Karen has spent most of her career partnering with businesses to formulate strategies that support their digital transformation initiatives. Karen is passionate about the fresh food supply chain, very true, and actively contributes to the industry by participating in speaking engagements, working groups, industry conferences, podcasts, and webinars. Karen is known for building strong, lasting relationships while introducing new technologies that improve operations. Today we'll discuss how technology can enable collaboration on quality across the supply chain. Technology enables the quality team to share inspection data and insights with multiple stakeholders across the supply chain, including suppliers and members, stores, as well as fresh directors and sales managers. And before Karen starts, I just want to give a quick update, so how we got here with iFoods. When I came on board, I've been with with AWG about 19 months. And we had a great platform. But I met Karen about a year and a half ago, a little over a year, that's probably a year and a half ago, right? And was introduced through a mutual friend. And she told me what they did, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, AWG is, we're best in class. We need to be best in class from that side of it. So got with Karen and her team. We started implementing them back in mid-22, and we fully implemented it late November of last year. They have brought a lot of great stuff to our team and to all of our divisions on the QC side. Alan Poduffley, stand up. Alan Poduffley is our senior QC manager from a corporate side. He works hand in hand with the iFoods team and has a lot of great suggestions to help them improve the process even more. So again, we're excited, we're thrilled. We are seeing some great results from that and the dashboards they're using. I won't take Karen's thunder away, but it's just been a great partnership. And as we move forward in 2023 and beyond, we hope that we can implement a lot of this throughout all of our fresh, just not in produce. So a lot of great stuff happening with iFoods and AWG. So again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks. And thank you for the intro there. And yes, we are here to talk about quality collaboration across the supply chain. But first, you guys got to know me a little bit. Thank you for the very lengthy intro. I don't know who wrote that, but show of hands. Who here in the room works for AWG? Gosh, we got to give everybody the Cliff Notes version of this later. Where'd they all go? Where are my suppliers? Are there any suppliers in the room? Jeez. And are there member retail operators here in the room? Okay, take notes so we can go out and share this with suppliers, because this is really about entire supply chain collaboration. Wait, last question. Is anybody here interested, or did they think they were coming to hear about the secrets of the candy aisle? Because Roger, that's next door. Sorry. Yes, today's topic, we could talk a long time about supply chain collaboration, but the real focus today is on technology in fresh with respect to quality and the power of data. Not just the collection of data, but the use of data. Using the data to communicate more effectively across the entire supply chain with suppliers and with members to really foster collaboration and improve overall fresh supply chain performance. And why is this important? If you were here, this isn't a quiz. In the last session, the potato guy was up here and he showed a slide that said 76% of consumers will choose where they shop based on the quality and freshness of the produce in the produce section. I mean, that's really huge. And AWG gets this. They have made significant investments in tech-enabled supply chain collaboration, not just buying the tech, but they truly make it a part of their entire culture. And we are really pleased to be with AWG along the ride to help them become in their mission, I think, Tony, you said this in one of our videos, the most retailer-focused, member-owned food wholesaler in America. iFoodsDS is pleased to be part of this by helping to implement the processes for both QC and operations to capitalize on this investment. Our mission at iFoodsDS is to really enable entire full chain supply chain digital transformation, as we discussed, really focusing on these three primary components: adoption of technology, the collection of data, and most importantly, the usage of that data. So let's start with tech and tech adoption. When I came here to the fresh supply chain industry, I was floored at how much of the data is collected on pen and paper. Like literally, I'm in grower fields, I'm in processors, coolers, packing plants, harvesting operations. People will ask me all the time, who's your biggest competitor at iFood? And I'm like, well, the notebook. It's a notebook and a clipboard, and that's literally how most of the data is collected at all points throughout. You're laughing because you know this, right? You're like, I have my notebook here. It's collected at all points of the supply chain. But now these crazy challenges are hitting us head on, more and more, faster and faster, at a higher velocity, all kinds of supply chain disruptions. A lot of you folks are here with AWG, but retailers and AWG, a couple of you guys just shout out, what are some of the biggest supply chain disruptions that have impacted your operations in the last, whatever, a year, 6 months? Come on, don't be shy, anything. Recalls. Nothing? Weather, huge right now. If you're watching the videos of the flooding in Salinas, let's wait to see the price of romaine here soon. Anybody else? Huh?
I said the price of strawberries.
Price of strawberry, oh, it's coming. Price of strawberry now and in the future, yeah. So we have transportation, logistics issue. I can't believe I didn't hear one person shout out labor. Like, come on, it's in every meeting that I'm in. Everybody's concerned about labor shortages and labor issues. Well, all of these things flying full speed at all parts in the supply chain, it's imperative right now that we figure out a better way to communicate, a faster way to communicate, and share insights and data from supply to distributor at retailer and all points in between. So how have we been working on this at iFood? We start with a collection of the data. First, you got to gather it up into a format that's actually usable and that you can share from one partner to another. At AWG, we're focused on using applications on handhelds, cloud-based applications on handheld smartphones, tablets, to run an application to enable a faster, easier, more seamless ability for our QC inspectors to collect the data, necessary data about the product as the product's both received in the distribution center and inspections out in the field. We also are using this application to complete slot inspections, and we've only scratched the surface. I think you said we're fully implemented. You don't know it yet, but we got a long way to go. Now, we're fully rolled out, but we have so many different opportunities to collect all different kinds of data elements in the cloud-based application. The need to collect this, the data in the application is not only just to help people work faster, but to do more with less. I said labor shortages. We would all like to duplicate Alan back there, put him in every distribution, but we can't. We got new inspectors coming in that don't have the same knowledge of the QC inspectors who have been here for 30, 40, 50 years. I did meet a guy at a different retailer, 48 years inspecting watermelons. That's something else, right? You can't just pass on that knowledge to the new kid that gets a job and just came off from being a stock manager. So we use this application to provide inspector-led guidance. This ensures that every inspector is coming up to speed and looking at the product the same way. The specifications are loaded in the application. Everybody looks at the product through the same lens, identifies defects in the same way. This is important for an organization the size of AWG and all of the member retail outlets, right? So when we have this standard set, we know that the suppliers have an expectation. They know it should be accepted and rejected every time because it's looked at every time the same way. Retailers have an expectation. You all should know what's coming in your back door because you know that the distribution center QC managers looked at that product and graded it the same way. So you have that expectation is set. So what happens next? the most important? The consumer. The end consumer has that expectation visiting your store every time they know they're getting the highest quality produce. But it all becomes part of this whole supply chain collaboration and setting the standard so that everybody's reading from the same rule book. Also with that standard, we have an ability to begin benchmarking. So we know where we are today, where we want to be. Without digital data capture and collecting all this data in one environment, it becomes very difficult to start to hit your benchmark, let alone exceed it, and then measure your improvements. So digitizing is the only way for us to really start to get there. Which brings us to the real power of the iFoodsDS platform, which is in the usage of the data. The actual application of all that data we've collected into one central location about the quality of the product to allow everybody across the entire enterprise to see, slice and dice, start trending and tracking the performance of quality from supplier into the distribution center, various distribution centers, and then on to the retailer. AWG uses these tracking and trending mechanisms to constantly look at ways to improve performance. It's not just a report. We're talking about trending analytics that has a number of different functions. As an example, I know that Alan relies heavily on the dashboards to help him better understand QC performance. Are we looking at enough product? How much product are we looking at? How are my inspectors performing? How can we improve performance? Then after the receiving, did we get around? Did we look at every slot? Did we know what was in there? Do we have things that are ready to expire? Ensuring that we know everything about every single item that comes in and stays in the distribution center before it gets shipped out and delivered to the member stores. Also, probably most importantly, the analytic that helps suppliers understand how they're trending and tracking. The analytic that trends all of this data and all of this performance so that we can report back to the suppliers and say, hey, this is where you're awesome, or here's your opportunity to help us deliver higher quality product. This is where we need you to be better. So this is an example of one of the supplier scorecards. Any of y'all want to come by our booth? It's 283. I just mentioned two, a QC efficiency scorecard and a supplier scorecard. But if y'all want to come by and take a look at some of the other analytics that we can deliver, once we have all that data into the ecosystem, there's a number of ways that we can look at the data. I know Roger's in the room and he uses scorecards, some of the scorecards that we deliver to help in his operation as well. There's a lot of different opportunity for how we can actually maximize efficiency by using this data and using it to communicate back. We call it the freshness feedback vehicle, right? Constant feedback loop into what the suppliers are delivering and we're giving back to them. So we had a goal, removing tedious processes, helping to improve visibility, getting everyone at all the distribution centers engaged, and we did that fast, I mean really fast. It was like 5 months, soup to nuts, right? We got in, we started training up one distributor. Thank you, Alan, and your team, phenomenal, helping out, and Whitney over here, our colleague here at iFoodsDS, going out and training all the DCs in the middle of the night. But we got 9 distribution centers and 28 inspectors up and running utilizing the web-based application to do the inspections. And next week, we'll roll out to 7 field inspectors to start gathering data in the field before it ever gets to the DC. Right? Pretty impressive. And that resulted in 25 fresh directors, sales managers, and corporate users being able to log in and use those dashboards to start making decisions and have more fluid conversation with their suppliers. The end result, we're starting to see increased efficiencies and better ways to identify operational improvement opportunities. So, where does that take us next? Okay, so this is kind of the vision, imagine what we can do. We've talked about gathering quality data. Already at AWG, we're talking about moving on beyond fresh produce. How do we start collecting meat inspection data, seafood inspection data, traceability data, all different kinds of way to get a single view of the product as it moves through every step throughout the supply chain? Imagine what it could be like if suppliers were using similar type application to gather their grower, harvesting, soil amendments, all that detailed digitally, and being able to tie it to the product so we could understand root cause analysis when product starts to fail. or shrinks out prematurely. Not a whole lot of retail operators in here, but what if your stores or your merchandisers were using this application at the point of sale or on the shelves to look at product, to measure shelf life, add that data to the cloud so we could start determining, why did this last longer than the last load? How do we keep that on the shelf longer and trace it back to the quality data captured in the distribution center and trace it back to the lot level information for the product as it was grown and harvested from the fields in Salinas? And lastly, and this is where I like to get a lot of people thinking about the power of data, because right now we're talking about gathering the data and look at what did happen. Here's what I'm really excited about. Last, I'm going to leave you with this. Predictive analytics. Starting to collect enough data in a system that you can start, or iFood can help support, or your technology partners can help you support the build of algorithms that can analyze that data and start giving you a heads-up notice when there could be an issue. Third-party data, weather events, fluctuation in market pricing. When we know market price goes up, what happens to demand? When we know that there's a terrible flood in Salinas, God be with all those people trying to manage through that. What happens to produce quality or fresh quality after one of those events? And how can we start adding that into our systems to start looking at it over time, to be more predictive about where we buy, when we buy, how much we spend when we buy, right? So this power of data just isn't a rear view mirror, and let's do root cause analysis. It can be really harnessed to make sure that we're focused on leveraging the data to build predictive insights into the entire supply chain and share those all the way back to ensure a safe, quality supply for our consumers. That's it. Any questions? Ask me about traceability, Dan. No, I'm just kidding. You asked the last guy.
No, talk about the traceability piece. Tell them what we're working on from the traceability standpoint.
Yeah, so I can talk to you a little bit about what the industry's working on from traceability and how we're really enabling the capture of data here at AWG. So very active in all these industry working groups around FDA 204. Show of hands, do you all know what 204 is? I certainly hope you guys, just Alan, everybody kinda, sorta? Highly encourage you, if you're a retail operator, you work at AWG, you should all go just look it up, FDA traceability rule, okay? It's just good reading, it's only 600 pages of FDA write-up, it's super, no, I'm just kidding. The actual codified document itself is only 60 pages, still long, but it's where the FDA has finally finalized and passed the rule on the requirement to trace a subset of products all the way back to the grower. I'm trying to give the very high-level Cliff Note version because it's incredibly complex, but essentially there's foods that are on what the FDA calls the food traceability list. Those foods need to be tracked and traced in the event of a recall on a sortable spreadsheet delivered to the FDA within 24 hours of the recall event. So if you can imagine clipboards, pens, and paper, and documents in big metal file drawers stored away in case we need them in 7 years, and FDA comes to you and that says, hey, we need to know where lot number 15867 was harvested. It was in this store. And you didn't even get that information provided to you by suppliers. So through this digital transformation process with AWG, we're providing opportunities through the inspection and data capture process to verify what the suppliers have sent or should be sending to AWG in a number of different formats, whether it's an EDI for the advanced shipment notification, or whether it's in an actual scan of the case and pallet, to ensure that this data can be sorted into that FDA sortable spreadsheet rapidly. It's going to take, we have until January 2026 to be compliant with this federal rule. It's a massive lift, and it's going to take 100% supply chain collaboration, because 95% doesn't cut it when you go to the FDA and you say, ooh, we can't trace that, but we can trace 95% of our other product. It's everybody has to participate. the local Amish grower who's growing butternut squash and sending it out in big bins, to Taylor Farms, to Dole Company, everybody, the small guys, the local guys, and the big guys, all have to be compliant with this rule by 2026. So we'll start with helping people to encourage, and AWG is out there in front, ahead of the curve, already digitizing all of their documents. But we're going to have to continue to give the push to the suppliers to get them on board and help the retailers also understand what their role is in this as well. Big rule. Again, I'm at 283. You guys can come talk to any of us about the traceability rule if you have some questions. Anything else?
Questions? Somebody's got a question. Really? What are we out of time? What do we got?
I think we're done. He was going to give me the hook. I didn't think I'd make it 15 minutes, but no, I get really excited about this. What different departments are you at AWG? Who's in fresh produce, meat? What other departments do we have out there?
Analytics,
Ooh,
data governance.
come talk to me. Yeah,
I know.
pen and paper. It makes your job way more difficult, creating the standard. And we have some retailers out there as well. The retailers adopted digital documentation of fresh product in the stores. Anybody out there done that yet? Keeping kind of a digital log of fresh, the product on the shelves, shelf life evaluations, things like that. Come see me. Happy to help you better understand how we stitch those data pieces together with all the hard work that the fresh team is doing here. And again, Alan, can't clone you, man. Couldn't do it without you. It's been really a pleasure to go down this path with you and Dan and Tony, Tim. Thank you very much.
Thank you.